Hello, I'm Padma Rao and this is World is One, Global Leadership Series, a show that brings you the best political minds from all over the world. In an increasingly polarized world, watch these leaders share their ideas, discuss challenges of the world and present perspectives to pressing problems around us. This week on World is One Global Leadership Series, we have Sri Lanka's former president, Mahinda Rajapaksa, a man they say is on the comeback trail. Mahinda Rajapaksa was president of Sri Lanka between 2005 and 2015. He is a human rights lawyer by profession, but ironically remains in the firing line himself for alleged violations committed by the Sri Lankan army during the final stages of the 30-year civil war in 2009. A total of 120,000 people were killed in the brutal conflict against the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, the LTTE. It was the Tigers who invented the Fidayeen attack or the suicide bomb and killed many world leaders, including India's Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. They also introduced the brutal practice of using child soldiers and civilians as human shields. Controversial he may be, but even his bitterest critics unanimously credit Mahinda Rajapaksa as the first Sri Lankan president to bring one of the bloodiest conflicts in the world to a decisive end. Your Excellency President Mahinda Rajapaksa, it's a pleasure to see you again. Thank you for receiving me and WION for this exclusive interview, which I believe is your first since you lost the elections in 2015. Thank you, sir. Sir, I'll start with the region, India, China, Pakistan. Sri Lanka has huge external debt. A 1/12 of that is towards China alone. Some say that your government, the previous government, is responsible for the current situation, and others say that the current government is responsible. Either way, sir, New Delhi, India is not happy with the situation. Could you tell us how you see it? Was it more your government that created this dependency on China, or is it the current one?
Yes, they say we are responsible, and we are saying the present government is responsible. Some people say the India is responsible for this. You know, we decided consciously, attempted to reorient our countries towards Asia. Then, which of course meant is two powerhouses, India and China. We did this for more than one reason, I would say. Firstly, we identify ourselves as Asians, and therefore we identify our destiny as part of the continent of Asia. Secondly, the Asia is our cultural and civilization comfort zone. Thirdly, we look to Asia to protect us and help us counterbalance pressures on our nation's sovereignty from outside the region. So, fortunately, we hope and continue to hope to benefit from the economic rise of Asia, propelled by the growth of its two giants, India and China. So, naturally, there was no dependency on China under my government. I must tell you that. All projects were income yielding, so repayment was commercially feasible. We take Hambantota seaport. Now this was negotiated on my first trip. First, I went to India and I requested them, I want a harbour port here, and can you please help us? So you know, the Indian way, I think you can't blame them because the private sector is involved in it, and they were red tapes and they were not prepared to accept it because the war was going on in the north, not in the north only, but northeast and even in other part of the country. So therefore, then 2006, I think I went to China. There I negotiated this. They immediately gave it to me in that year. But it was a loan that we can afford to pay because we knew from the income we get, we can pay it. We were not depending on them. that much, because we knew it was a direct loan where we never gave them the port. Then after that, for the second and third, we negotiated with them on SOT basis. Only the terminal, not the port. So even at the terminal, they had to pay for it. The land, we never gave them lands like this. But unfortunately with this government, with their approach, as soon as they came, they cancelled all the contracts, or what you call it, the agreements with China, and they antagonized China. Then thereafter, of course, everything was changed. And they are offering 15,000 acres. We never offered them 15,000 acres in the Hambantota to them. We never leased it out. Now what they are doing is they are just selling I would say they are selling the country.
So China is Sri Lanka's largest trading partner and also its biggest investor. In fact, some in Sri Lanka even say that it is slowly becoming Sri Lanka's colonizer. So you and factions supportive of you are also protesting the Hambantota deal with China. But yet your Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is expected to initial the deal when he visits China in May. And Colombo's port city, on the other hand, is also steaming ahead. And China has also made it clear, sir, through its docking of nuclear submarines, that it has larger intentions in Sri Lanka and in the Indian Ocean region. So is it too late to reverse this process of what some people call colonization of Sri Lanka by China?
There was no idea of colonization in our time. China is a valued friend and a partner in development, that's all. However, there is a significant difference between our approach and the approach of the present government to the Chinese projects. The last government, after negotiations, agreed on the following structures for the Hambantota project. That, as I said earlier, it was on a SOT basis. Again, for the terminal only. The land was leased, so there was no colonization as such. But under this government, I mean, they have changed their policies. So that is what has happened now.
Sir, to decimate the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, the LTTE, against whom there was a brutal civil war for 30 years in your country under your government did receive arms and training from China and even Pakistan. So in fact, you are the president who is unanimously credited, even by your detractors, as being the first head of government or state to actually bring that civil war to an end. Did you approach India at that time to help you, sir? And if you did, how did New Delhi react?
I mean, they helped us. I didn't have to ask. Because I was fighting your war, Indian war, not my war, actually. Because they killed your Indian Prime Minister, Rajiv Gandhi, and so many people in India, their soil, not in this soil. So, in that way, I mean, it was not only my war. It is Indian war. It is the humanitarian war. And they helped us by every possible way, you know. We didn't want to publish it. We don't want to tell the press or not only China, Pakistan, even the British or the Americans helped us.
Sir, Pakistan is a hotbed of Islamist terrorism, at least from the Indian point of view. The Maldives in your neighborhood has also seen the largest number of recruits to the Islamic State and is increasingly being influenced by Wahhabi Islam from Saudi Arabia. And we have in Bangladesh, there has been Islamic State terror as well as the discovery of sleeper cells. Sir, surely under these circumstances, and especially now that your Justice Minister said that there were 31 elite Sri Lankan Muslims who joined the Islamic State, would it it not be better, sir, for Sri Lanka to improve relations with India rather than ignore the dangers in this region, primarily from Islamist terrorism?
We believe in improving relations with all countries in our neighborhood, that I must tell you. Both India and Pakistan have helped us as best as they can. We have traditionally been friends of both, and that friendship has not been mutually exclusive and contradictory, I would say, by which I mean friendship with one has not been at the expense of the other. We are mindful of the sentiment of our citizens of Islamic faith. And I must tell you that when some days of Madam Sirimao Bandaranaike, being close friend of the Islamic world, of course we have only one neighbor, India, which is a subcontinent, and our Tamil citizens have cultural, religious and civilizational links with India. For all those reasons, our relationship and friendship with India is quite special, even unique, I would say.
President Rajapaksa, you had promised to address the demand for greater autonomy raised by Sri Lankan Tamils in the northern and eastern provinces of your country. India continues to insist on the so-called 13th Amendment, which was co-authored by India and signed in 1987. Is the 13th Amendment still the best solution to the demand for greater autonomy, sir?
I won't say the best solution. If that was the best solution, then the problem would have been solved now. But we must remember that all nations, I mean all communities must get together to give a solution. That you can't give a solution where only to satisfy one sector, one community. We have to satisfy the whole, I mean all communities.
The fishermen's issue and the Kachai Tivu agreement, these are subjects that make headlines almost every day in India and Sri Lanka. From your point of view, sir, what can be done on parts of both the governments to resolve these issues once and for all?
No, I would say, the problem is fishermen never go behind, they go behind only the fish. They are not worried about the borders. But it is our duty, I mean, from Delhi and Colombo must have a political will to stop this. I mean, what has happened is they are coming here and raping the whole seabed. They are doing that, what you call the bottom trawling, yes, bottom trawling, by killing everything. So this is what they must stop. And for that, Delhi must have the political will to stop it.
So in 2015, when you lost the election, you had accused India, specifically its research and analysis wing, RAW, of somehow engineering or trying to engineer your defeat in that election. Could you explain how that was?
I don't want to go to the past. I mean, it has done. It's a new page now.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. President Rajapaksa, if you were to return to power, either with the Sri Lanka Freedom Party faction that supports you or some other new party, would you want to recalibrate your relationship with India? And in which ways would you want to do that? Would you recalibrate?
Frankly, I think both my government and this present government, and may I say, and in the earlier government, that of President J.R. Jayawardena, have learned lessons in geopolitical and economics, I would say. No Sri Lanka government can fail to recognize that cannot antagonize the two Asian giants, that is India and China. We have learned lessons now. So it is for our national interest to have very carefully balanced and maintain equipoise between the two.
A report in the Hindu suggests that you and your brother, the former Defence Secretary, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, have fallen out, and that Mr. Ram Madhav, who is Prime Minister Modi's special man for Sri Lanka, so to speak, is involved in engineering some sort of a political arrangement that will include your brother and somehow suit Indian interests. Could you comment on that report, sir?
I didn't see the report, but I heard about it. But I would say there has not been a falling between Gotabaya and me in the past, in the present, or there will not be one in the future also, I must say. I think our relationship is based on love, mutual respect, and shared patriotic values, and well as the dangers of shared experiences, that of the war, the last 5-6 years. So, even yesterday he was here. So I don't know why they make these stories like this. It's not good for their paper, I would say, or to the writer.
So what is your personal equation with Prime Minister Narendra Modi? You even came to his inauguration. Would you have some anecdotes to narrate, perhaps?
No, I regard myself as a friend of your Prime Minister, Modi. And I admire what he has done for your country, I mean India, and its international prestige, what he had done. I particularly like the way in which he has harnessed the support of the Indian diaspora. I couldn't. I admire his patriotism and his drive and modernize India. That's what I can say about him. We admire him. I mean, there's no question.
I'll come to Sri Lanka now. Earlier this year, several former rehabilitated LTTE cadres were arrested for being part of a diaspora-hatched conspiracy to kill your moderate Tamil leader, Mr. Sumantiran. And as you know, 2 years ago, sir, 3 LTTE cadres, including one Gobi, were chased and gunned down, and weapons found all over again in the northern province. The Liberation Tigers have regrouped outside Sri Lanka, Mr. Rajapaksa. Does all this mean that your rehabilitation program, which your government started, has proved to be a failure?
No, our rehabilitation effort was successful and humane, I would say. What has been a disaster is the weakening of our security forces and our, security safety network in the former conflict areas, weakening them. So, this has been a deliberate policy of the present government. I fear that a disaster is looming. But, when we released them, about 12,000 people, we rehabilitated, some people were rehabilitated fully. They went through the whole course. Then there are some people who had gone through only half of it. And there are people who had not gone through it because they have somehow managed to escape that rehabilitation program. So it all, depend on that. And especially the LTT diaspora is collecting money and they are powerful. So we have to have a good network, security network, intelligence network, must be strengthened. They have weakened it, listening to the LTT diaspora.
But if that rehabilitation program was so successful, what are these stories of LTT resurgence? Are these just politically engineered rumors?
No, they are not. They are probably just the tip of the iceberg.
So it's much larger than that, you feel?
Much larger than that.
Yet I'll persist with the LTTE. Former rebel Karuna has formed the so-called Tamil Freedom Party in Batticaloa, and another former cadre has formed the so-called Rehabilitated Liberation Tigers Party in Trincomalee, sir. So, Tamil Freedom Liberation Tigers, surely no election commission in United Post-War Sri Lanka can possibly allow such names to be registered.
But I support and encourage Karuna, I would say. He risked his personal He took a personal risk and caused his brother, Reggie, was killed, by the tigers. And so coming into mainstream and fighting political battle and forming a political party, I wish him luck. And I do not know enough about the other party, but rehabilitation, I must be free to start a political party. We must encourage him to come to the democratic, peaceful, non-separatist politics.
But surely with better names, sir.
I suppose so. I think the election commissioner will advise them. I suppose.
Even your bitterest critics acknowledge that you are the Sri Lankan president who brought the long civil war to an end. But corruption charges against your family persist, and yet your popularity is on a phenomenal upswing. What do you attribute this to, sir? I mean, a new party has been formed. They're asking you to leave the SLFP and head that party instead. Either way, will the next election see the return of Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa into the fray?
Mahinda Rajapaksa never left the fray, I would say. So long as my country, my nation, my people are in danger and need me, I remain in the fray.
So either as Prime Minister or President, you are saying you will come back in whichever role. You will come to the fore if your nation needs you.
I must tell you that patriotic politics is not a job. It is my life's vocation.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa, thank you very much for talking to WION and to me exclusively here in your residence in Colombo.
Thank you very much.
Next week on WION, World is One, Global Leadership Series, we will speak to former President of Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf.
We achieved a lot by going back and showed that I am not out permanently. I will go back. And now when I say that I will come back, people do know that I'll do it.